Hello! Today's stories come from r/AskReddit. Today's question is a bit older, but the responses were too good to miss. Let's ask Reddit. What is a survival myth that is completely wrong and could get you killed? Ranger Actual said, rationing water is generally a terrible choice. Drink what you have until it's gone. Use that time with good hydration levels to take stock of your situation and make good choices. Decision making and physical ability drop off very quickly when you are dehydrated. The first decisions you make after realizing you are in a survival situation are critical and pay long dividends. Most survival situations are resolved within 72 hours, and many hikers are found dead in the desert with full water bottles. Lucas Bow asked, "Excuse me, but where did you find the information about that last fact?" Full Cheetah said, Evan Tanner was a UFC fighter who went hiking in the desert. He died of dehydration and exhaustion away from the camp he had set up. When the authorities returned to the camp, they found ample supplies of water. Bobby Throwaway replied, "But he had no water on him, right? I imagine he lost his camp." Full Cheetah said, he went to refill his water bottle at a spring that ended up being dry. The point is, he didn't ration his water accordingly and didn't bring extra water in case he needed it. Rest in peace, Evan. T Nasty shared, Ranger told me the same thing when I was hiking in Joshua Tree. I was hiking out to an oasis that was only 2 to 3 miles of desert, but at least 30 signs that said, turn around if after 9 a.m. Dehydration is scary. Fennecman said, either the person is rescued or they die of dehydration, I assume, since 3 days is around the time you're supposed to not go without water. Advanced Evening added, 3 minutes without air, 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food. Lucky Old Sun said, I used to work with a guy who spent much of his Air Force career teaching survival to air crews, and I remember him saying, ration sweat, not water. He said to conserve energy and avoid doing physically strenuous things like constructing a better shelter during the day, but keep drinking water. His other maxim was, if you're not peeing, you're not drinking enough. Ration your water, don't ration your water, which is it? Probably largely dependent on whether there is a nearby water supply and whether you have the means to treat the water if required. I like simple rules myself and would lean on Advanced Evening's comment, the threes rule. Let's check out the next one. Cruiserman80 said, changing the voicemail on your mobile phone to tell incoming callers about your plight. That BS just wastes battery. At the first sign of trouble, send an SMS with your best location details to everyone on your contact list. Even if you have no signal and set it to max power save with Wi-Fi, mobile data, and Bluetooth off, your phone will continually try to get the SMS out, even if you get a little signal for a few seconds, and will use a lot less power doing it. Building on that, Lenya Pixel said, additionally, call 112 or 911 first, even if you don't have any signal. Emergency calls are not restricted to your provider's network and still work at lower signal strength than normal calls. Besides that, who came up with the mailbox thing? How likely is it that someone listens to your voicebox message coincidentally at the exact same time when you're in danger? Rogue After said, can confirm, recently had to do this in the middle of nowhere to report an accident. Phone showed no signal, but the call to 911 went through anyway. Eat Dive Fly said, perhaps not really a myth, but something people may think is true after watching people get rescued from the water on TV. Get them breathing and send them on their merry way. If you rescue someone from a near drowning, they still need to go to the hospital, even though they are safely on land now. The lungs are coated with a slippery, mucus-like substance called a surfactant. It's kind of a lubricant, and it keeps them from collapsing and sticking to themselves. If they ingested a lot of water into the lungs, chances are they have washed away the surfactant. Their lungs could collapse at any moment, and their ability to uptake oxygen is reduced. Get the survivor on oxygen. Source, rescue trained scuba diver here. I Ate the Bone added, can confirm, dry drowning is a thing, past lifeguard. Goose Rider shared, I saw a heartbreaking story about this on a documentary, where a kid had survived a potential drowning. Everyone thought he was fine, and he was functioning normally. So went home with his family. Later that day, his lungs collapsed, and he dropped dead. Sat San Sets added, I pulled a kid out of the water a few years ago, following a near drowning, and explained this to the parents. The lifeguard had no idea. Great advice. Madam Bootknife Alt said, Lifeguard here can confirm. We stop CPR if we see signs of life, but we never call off the ambulance. It's better safe than sorry, and just because someone is seemingly fine doesn't mean their health isn't on a time limit. Toot and Tell It said, "Pretty sure there was a Baywatch episode where this happened." Oh, Baywatch, I bet you it was CJ that saved the person. Carrying on with our water theme, and in response to, "What is a survival myth that is completely wrong and could get you killed?" God David said, "Drowning people do not cry for help or make gestures to try and get someone's attention. What they are doing is trying to stay afloat and trying to catch their breath. Never count on a cry for help." Someone else added, "It usually looks like someone is trying to climb an invisible ladder with their hand barely above the water. And unless you're a world champ water polo player, do not approach without a flotation device. They are desperate, and you will become their flotation device, which can result in both of you drowning." In response, Craftosaurus said, "Can confirm, as a small child, I jumped into the deep end of the pool to join my big bros. As I couldn't swim, it didn't go well. My slightly older brother tried to save me, and I climbed him to catch my breath, almost drowning both of us. Somehow, he managed to get us both to the side. Honestly, what was the lifeguard doing? He didn't even seem to see it." Along similar lines, Cyanine shared, "This is true of trauma injuries too. People who are seriously hurt aren't usually the ones screaming and flapping around. They'll more likely be in shock or losing consciousness. If you are on scene at a large accident like a traffic collision or something and it's safe to help, look out for the quiet people." The Curvy Unicorn added, "Yep, was involved as a passenger in a very nasty car wreck. The drivers were yelling and screaming. I was calm, matter of fact, and quiet. I remember the medic asking me what was on the airbag, and I calmly said, 'That's part of my tongue. I bit it off. Can you please help me out so I can walk this off?' Yeah, I had 8 broken ribs, a 16-inch gash in my leg, a fractured trachea, and more. I was completely calm until about 2 hours into it at the ER. Disco Stud said, "If you go into a lake when in a car, don't wait until the car fills with water. Just open the window and get out as soon as possible. If you wait, you could be 200 feet down or flipped over on the bottom. The power will still work for a short time. It only takes a few seconds." Edit source. My buddy did his master thesis on exactly this, and I got to practice it several times in a pool. Ellie Adamson added, "True. Also, if it's fresh water, the car's headlights and electronics can stay on for up to 15 minutes as the water has fewer conductive minerals. Punching or smashing the windows won't work from the pressure, nor will opening the doors. So rolling down the windows and climbing or swimming out is your best bet at surviving." The gray person said, "Adding to this, window punches won't work if you have tint on them." No Freedom elaborated, "They won't even if you don't have tint. Modern windows are extremely hard to break. Got my whole family Adventures with Purpose window breaker keychains this year. The scuba guys on YouTube who pull cars with dead people inside sell them." Sharaka said, "Seconding getting one of those tiny window breakers. You can get ones online that have a seatbelt cutter on the opposite handle." On the note of seatbelt cutters, Blue Chimp shared, "Carjackers in my area were using these prolifically, which is cut someone's belt before throwing them out of the car at intersections." Clown took the throw and said, "Geez, where do you live?" Scrape Against My Eggplant said, "San Andreas." Blue Chimp's final word, "Close. Los Angeles." Oh goodness. Being in a car in a body of water is one of my worst nightmares. These are great tips. On to the next. Deleted account shared that bears can't run down hills. They can. They'll get you too. DJD said, "I was actually going to try and find this fact. And what do you know? It's at the top. Bears are no joke. They run, climb, and swim like a damn CrossFit junkie jacked up on meth. Another thing is, they don't gas out quickly. I've seen videos of bears running full speed, then swimming across a river, and running full speed again to catch prey. Insane." Jackbutt Jackson added, "If they could just learn to ride a bike, Iron Man would be dominated by bears." Big Benjamin said, "The best defense against a bear is a .22 caliber pistol. I was walking with my buddy one time, and a big mean bear came out of the woods. I pulled out the .22, shot my buddy in the knee, and walked off at a brisk pace. That bear never even bothered with me." SM Savini said, "The classic, you don't have to outrun a bear, you just have to outrun your friends. This adds an extra step to ensure you have an edge." Bears and Iron Man. That's a cute picture. Moff said, myth. If you're stuck in a car trunk, all you do is scream for help and make noise. True. If you're ever locked in a car trunk, look for an emergency release lever or button. These are requirements for cars built 2002 or later. Nadimon added, yes, and you can also kick the back lights out in most cars. Someone shared, wait until you hear the freight train sound to go to the tornado shelter. I was always told as a kid, if you can't hear it, you're all right. At 20 years old, I was caught out in the woods with a few friends thinking we had 10 to 15 minutes to get back to the truck after the tornado warning went out. 3 minutes after the warning, we heard what sounded like a freight train and this loud hissing sound, like 1,000 rattlesnakes. Within 30 seconds, we were watching trees get plucked up into the air. We all made it out all right. Luckily, there was a large ravine that was dry that time of year, and we scrambled into it and flattened out, gripping to each other and rocks for dear life. It took 30 seconds from the time we realized it was in front of us till it was on top of us. Later in life, I watched an F3 touchdown. Because how tornadoes spin and the earth spins, and I was traveling at 75 miles per hour down a highway, I thought I was running alongside it. About 1 mile from it, I couldn't hear it. I could see trees and barns going up into the air with it. I never realized it was coming towards me at about 30 miles per hour. By the time I heard it and felt a pressure change inside the cab of my truck, I had no choice but to bail out and run into a culvert alongside the interstate. This all happened within 60 seconds. If you've already heard the tornado, you need to be in your shelter, not heading towards it. A tornado watch is an advisory to be watching for tornadoes. It means it is highly plausible for a tornado to form and touch down. A warning means a radar indicated tornado has touched down and possibly even been spotted by human eye. If you cannot get indoors, get as low as you can. I have made a habit. As soon as a tornado watch is released in my county, my go bag, the diaper bag, the kids' stuff they will need, all goes in a large duffel in the storm room. I'll watch velocity radar like a hawk until the watch is cleared. If it is elevated to a warning, we all pile in. Tornadoes can drop out of the sky right on top of you in under a minute, leaving you with little to no reaction time. Strict Pineapple added, might also be worth mentioning that if you're looking at a tornado and it has no apparent movement, it's moving toward you. Solitary Egg said, zigzag, to escape an alligator. Alligators can turn, but can and will only run in short bursts. Just run as fast as you can. I think it's neat, shared. Fun fact, alligators only run for short durations because the way they wiggle when they run compresses their lungs, so they can't breathe while running. Another fun fact. Same. Epistasius shared, seems like I heard if you are within 12 feet, he can get you. Outside 12 feet, you can get away. Rule of thumb, don't be within 12 feet of an alligator. I do like a rule, and who's getting within 12 feet of an alligator? Crazy people, that's who. Danghor said that you can easily disarm someone holding you at gunpoint. Nemedi said, Detroit urban survival flashbacks. Farmer Evil added, I want to see that dude try that crap in the actual streets of Detroit so bad. MFers would sell both his earpieces on Craigslist for $5 the next day. Laugh my butt off. Slavic Bumpkin said, do not try to leave a deserted island if you are stuck. You will almost certainly die before someone spots you. Rejoy added, all good. Gilligan's Island taught me it's better to stay put and spend my resources making bamboo golf carts and bathtubs. They are out there added, well, of course you have to have a bamboo golf cart. Do you really expect anyone to have to walk to the island fashion show? On a more serious note, Kaiser Thorn added, also for planes and helicopters, maybe satellites too if they're strong. On islands, they could easily spot man-made structures like debris pulled ashore, fires, and shelters, immediately knowing you're there and to find you. But on the ocean, I was told the waves and visibility are so bad, you can be directly next to a giant orange raft and not see it. Clownfish Soup said, also, plane search patterns can miss you if you're drifting with ocean currents. Stay on your island and make a sign or signal. Wave a stick, whatever. Even if your island is just a rock, it's at least stationary. And if nothing else, you can at least sleep without fear of drowning. In response to the original comment, PM Me Your Human said, also, if I don't leave, it won't be a deserted island. Taps forehead. One would hope it's common sense that surviving on an island might be a tad easier than surviving out in the ocean, but common sense isn't so common. I have bad Reddit said, more just a hey don't do that. Leave large animals alone. Even if you find, say, a large track or droppings that make you think, hey, it's probably a big enough animal to kill me, leave the area. Herbivores like moose or elk or bison can kill you just as easily as a bear, often far more likely because they see you as the predator. Don't close the distance if you find a large critter. I don't care if the photo is crappy from that distance. Better to have a crappy photo of a bison than get crushed and stomped in the middle of nowhere to bleed out alone. Responding to the photo reference, Parthenia said, I can't help but laugh sometimes at videos of people having to dip out when they piss off bison. It's a 3,000 plus pound tank made of meat, and they are ornery at the best of times. How did they think that was going to play out? Mitchiness quoted, they wouldn't let the wild animals in the park if they were dangerous. Weekly Instruction shared, I was passing through Jasper and saw a bunch of tourists taking photos of a grizzly cub walking in a ditch. The ditch was about 5 feet down off the road, and where they were standing, they couldn't see the mother bear in the woods. I could see it from the car, so I stopped and told them they should get back in their vehicles. Their response? F off. I said, all right then, frack you, and left. 1 hour later, I heard on the news there was a bear attack in Jasper. Don't go near the small ones either. I do hope you enjoyed this educational episode as much as I did. I've taken the liberty of summarizing some key takeaways. This is by no means an exhaustive list, and I'm certainly no survival expert. Read obligatory disclaimer. Anyway, here they are. If you get lost, don't get dehydrated. Call 911 and then send a mass text to your entire contact list. Go to the hospital if you ever get water in your lungs. Drowning people will take you down with them. Watch out for the calm ones in a wreck. The screaming ones are obviously still breathing. If you drive into a lake, roll down the windows. And it doesn't hurt to have a window breaker with a seatbelt cutter. It's a multi-purpose tool used in carjacking, though of course not recommended for such illegal activity. When in the wilderness, be sure to avoid all animals. However, as a backup option, it's recommended that you bring someone slower than you, so that if you do happen upon a bear, the bear will prey on them because they don't run as fast. On the off chance your kidnapper isn't driving a creepo van or an oldie car, look for the release button after they shove you into their trunk. Nothing new really to share on tornadoes. Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt already taught me everything I need to know. They're super scary. Run for your life. And we'll leave it there. Stay safe. If you've enjoyed the story and would like to hear more, consider liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment. Thanks, and bye for now.